Today, we're looking at a purple ink by KWZ, their Iron Gall Violet number 2. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, there's timestamps down below so you can skip around to the part you're most interested in. Or, if you've got the time, I'd appreciate you checking out the entire video. You could also follow me on Instagram, and if you like fountain pen ink reviews, I would invite you to subscribe. To make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples. I then put the ink into a Lamy All-Star with a broad nib, wrote with it for a day, and then used it to take my notes for this video. In order to standardize, I always use Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper in this first writing sample. There will be more writing samples on different papers later in the video. Now, let's look at the writing sample. I picked this ink up in sample form, so it came in a vial like this. And to keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at the Clairfontaine. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen. It does have quite a bit of shading in it. The extra fine is about the same tone as the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, a lot of very nice shading, 5 seconds to dry. Medium is much darker than the extra fine, with no feather spread, halo sheen, a little bit of shading that we see going on here, 9 seconds to dry. Now the scrubby for both do show some color variation left to right, and we do get that in the writing. Tomoe River. No bleeding, normal Tomoe River ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen. It does offer little bits of shading. The extra fine is about the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen. It also offers up bits of shading with 9 seconds to dry. Medium is much, much darker than the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade, 16 seconds to dry. Now the scrubby for both aren't really showing color variation, although the extra fine has some. And Rhodia. With no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen. It does offer some shading throughout its writing. The extra fine is the same tone as the stub. With no feather spread, halo sheen, it offers shading within the writing. It's quite nice. 6 seconds to dry. Medium is way darker than the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade, 11 seconds to dry. Now the scrubby for both do show some color variation, although the medium didn't give us any. I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And we see a whole lot of gray at the bottom that's really uniformly pushing its way up. Then we see a very faint purple and that kind of off-white something that has occurred in a number of Iron Gall inks. Now the one on the right I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. We see that that gray is really starting to form a line on the bottom. It's pushing up, but that purple is so faint a purple where it starts and the gray ends almost disappears. We still see that kind of off-white-ish color showing up at the top. This one I let dry for 24 hours before I put it into water. And we see that that gray line is really gone and started to bond strongly with the filter paper. Most of it is staying there. Some of it is still moving up, but that purple looks a little darker and more there. We also kind of blur the line a little bit between where the purple ends and that off-white something at the top comes in. This one I let dry for 72 hours before I dunk it into water. And we see that while the line looks very much the same, we get a lot less of that brown that's moving up. That purple is just as noticeable as it was with the last one, and we're still seeing a kind of blurred line of where that off-white color is at the very top. Resistance tests are done to see how well this ink can be expected to perform on the page and how hard it may be to clean from your pen. I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, I feel safe using this in a note-taking situation if I want to go back and highlight, because I'm not losing any important information. Now, water is lifting most of those dark tones off the paper. It's really leaving a lot of that gray behind. Pen flush did less than water did for the most part, but in other parts it started to break it down more. So we can say that pen flush does about as much as water. Now it only took water to get this out of my pen. The 1/3 bleach solution is completely removing it from the paper, and you're not going to need it to get it out of your pen. I test ink viscosity or flow by using a tilt test, and I've linked that video and put that in here for you. Now for the inks I've tested, I have found an average viscosity of 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. KWZ's Iron Gall Violet 2 has a viscosity of 1.94, making it a wet ink. To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples. Now for the inks I've tested, I found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. KWZ's Iron Gall Violet number 2 has an average dry time of 9 seconds, making this a fast drying ink. Instead of finding inks that look like KWZ's Iron Gall Violet number 2, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. I wanted a nice bright green to go with whatever color this is in its writing. I don't feel like it's a purple, but I chose Private Reserve's Sherwood green. The second writing sample is done on Levenger, black and red, and Strathmore calligraphy paper. Here we see Levenger paper. Now we get no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, almost no shading. There are a couple darker spots. The extra fine is about the same tone as the stub. With no feather spread, halo sheen, it does offer some spots of shading within the writing, 4 seconds to dry. Medium is way darker than everything on the paper, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 6 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show no color variation because there isn't any. Black and red notebooks with no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and it does offer bits of shading within the writing, just small bits. The extra fine is about the same tone as the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, a lot more spots of shading than what we saw in the stub, with 3 seconds to dry. The medium again is much darker than everything on the page, with no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade, 5 seconds to dry. Now the scrubby for both show no color variation, although we do get some in the extra fine. Strathmore calligraphy paper. Thought I wrote my notes on this wrong. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen. It offers spots of shading throughout. The extra fine is the same tone as the stub, with no feather spread, no halo, no sheen, spots of shading, not a ton, but there are spots of it, 4 seconds to dry. Medium, by far the darkest tone on the page, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 5 seconds to dry. Now if you look real close, if you had this like on your TV or something, you might think that you see spots that look like feathering, like in the word lazy. This is a laid paper, so occasionally that ink, when there's more of it, is following the grain of the paper. It's not that it's feathering, it's that this is laid, so it's got a texture to it. Now the scrubby for both show no color variation, and the extra fine did have some. That's all that I have for the writing samples. So what do I think of KWZ's Iron Gall Violet number 2? In the writing, there's nothing purple about it to me. It's hard to tell exactly what color it is. Now I'm gonna put it in the videos under Violet because it's its name, but it just really missed the mark as a color. So what nib and pen will give the best writing experience? Whatever nib you choose, use a very wet one so that you can use the sample up as fast as possible. If you've enjoyed this video, remember, I like thumbs up, you like thumbs up, everybody likes thumbs up. Unless you didn't like it, then give me the thumbs down. Both are good. Thanks for watching.